Guys, welcome back to the channel. Today's video, we're going to be looking at the 50-30-20 rule when it comes to budgeting, and really one of the twists that we're seeing right now because of the rising inflation, the cost of goods, the CPI index, and also rates in general that continue to increase. Now, we really pride ourselves over budgeting the 50-30-20 rule, but we are finding that as things continue to get more expensive, this rule is not sitting well and cannot be feasible for a lot of individuals. And we're going to break this down, guys, exactly why. So as things continue to get more expensive, looking at the classic take on the 50-30-20 budgeting rule, 50% of your taxable income to your living expenses. This covers the home, this covers transportation, 20% towards that savings goal as in the investment, paying down debt, things of that nature, and then 30% are the rest of those expenses. So these are the ones that might be a cell phone bill, a cable bill, your subscriptions, everything of that nature are going to go into that last 30%. Now with budgeting, and again, things getting so expensive nowadays, the 50-30-20 rule is very hard to follow. And even the last 2 years with inflation running actually rampant, CPI index going up around 13%, wages really failing to keep up with inflation, it seems like a lot of people cannot stick to this or cannot stick to the hard 50-30-20 rule. So let's look at some numbers, guys. So calculating the average net income for an American, and again, this is the net. You could be above, you could be below, depending on where you live. So crunching some numbers, guys. Single American, the income is $57,000 is the median according to the Bureau of Labor and Statistics. But as everyone knows that collects a paycheck, if you're making $57,000 a year, you are not taking home $57,000 a year. It would be amazing, but we have that fun thing called federal taxes. That is right, guys. If you're making $57,000 a year with a standardized deduction, you would have to pay $5,000 of that right off the top, which of course is the IRS tax estimation tool or the federal tax that you have. Now, if you live in one of the 41 states, you'll also owe a state income tax. Like I do in Michigan, guys, our state income tax in Michigan is 6%. So all told, state and local taxes are about 11% on average, which means now you are paying $6,600 plus your $5,000 in federal, means that you are literally splitting that $57,000 income down. Now, assuming you're not self-employed and you firmly split the bill, Social Security, Medicare tax as well, 6.2% for Social Security, 1.5% for Medicare. That is $3,500 for Social Security, almost $1,000 for Medicare. Plus, if you have any medical coverages or costs that come out of the paycheck before you bring it home, which on average in the United States is around $1,700. So that puts gross income at 57, minus your 5 for your federal, minus 66 for your state and your local. Social Security is at 35, Medicare is at 800. Let's say round about 1,800 for your health insurance. This leaves you 40K, guys. That is right. That 57,000, we took 17,000 right off the top due to taxes, health insurance, things of that nature. So your 57 goes to 40, just like that. Where's the 50-30-20 rule really gets challenging? This is where it is, guys. So now that 50-30-20 rule, remember, is based off take-home income. So our take-home income now is down to 39, or the net income. We're not using the gross before we get taxes. We are using the net income that you are actually taking home. So first of all, we got the 50-30-20 rule. 50% goes to our living expenses. That gives you $1,643 per month. That is right, guys. This covers your mortgage. This covers your rent, but this also covers your auto, your car, things of that nature, the fixed expenses. Those are the living expenses, car and home. So you got to budget that to $1,600 with the average car payment being roughly $400. When you start factoring gas, when you start factoring in a couple things of that nature, the $1,600 is not going to go a very long way. If you live anywhere in the United States where the rent has slowly increased or dramatically increased, we have 1-bedroom apartments going around my neighborhood for about $1,400. We have 2 bedrooms going for $1,850. That is right, guys. You cannot even fit the $1,400 of a 1-bedroom apartment would mean that would leave you $243 left, which means you have either one, a really, really cheap car payment, or you have no car payment at all, or you're already going to be kind of out of budget. Now, looking at the savings, this is the most big area that takes a hit, guys, because some people do the 50-30-10 or the 50-30-0 or the 50-50. which is kind of the living expenses and then everything else. And they're really squeezing out the savings, which you cannot do, guys. You have to have that emergency fund. You have to have that debt repayment plan. But breaking it up, guys, again, based on our $40,000 salary, 20% saved is $657 a month, which most people are not saving that. Now, of course, this does not include if you're putting money into a 401k, if you're putting it into an IRA, an investment account, an HSA, all of that does go into the savings bucket. Now, everything else is around $1,000 a month, which is, of course, the last 30% of that monthly income. So monthly take home is around $3,200 in this scenario. Now, don't have to look really hard to realize that they look kind of unrealistic. One bedroom apartments in the US are going for $1,500 is the national average, which again is kind of crazy. You start factoring in utilities, you start factoring a car payment, need a car to get to work, $526. Now you put in $150 to $200 per month, which again is average per JD Power. In gas, that puts you at roughly $726 for that car payment. That puts you, again, we're just using averages, $1,500 for your rent. So you're already at, what is that, about $2,200? You're at about $2,200 of the $3,200 you're bringing home, which leaves $1,000. So literally that saving expense when you do the vehicle and gas is completely gone. Now, of course, this is kind of hypothetical because now you have $1,000 left again in this scenario. Now, if you're looking at savings plans, if you're looking at food costs have been through the roof, even looking 2021, 22, 23, food has been very, very expensive, which means for an average individual, it's roughly running $400 to $600 a month for food. So that $1,000 leaves you with $400 left. And that is saying that everything is really out there with what you do have left. So how to budget when the money is tight, guys. This is something we wanted to get into. Americans are not able to stash away that 20% that we recommend. In fact, the average personal savings rate is at 5. That is right, guys. The average savings rate is at 5%. So the 20% of the 50-30-20 rule is going down to 5 or 0, again, depending on where you are. Now, if you're among the legion of Americans looking to budget to really get around the 50-30-20 rule, you can't do this hard. It is not a very solid, hard fact. You are going to have a lot of variables in there when it comes to building. However, it can be easier said than done. Boosting your income means picking up a side hustle, having a second job, being able to raise some additional money, which is a big ask if it's already stretched thin, if you have kids, things of that nature. Again, this budget is not going to work on average. Cutting costs. Now, this is really the big part. And this, of course, is going to be the largest area that you can cut. Downsizing the apartment, looking for a cheaper apartment, taking on a roommate. Do you really need a car where you're living at? Depending on, again, what you have, you can kind of change up a little bit. Also looking at the basics, guys. Remember, the general rule of thumb is to pay yourself, even if it's $20, $50, whatever it may be. Portion of Americans are doing the 85-10-5, which again, 85% of income is kind of going into those fixed expenses, the car, things of that nature. 10% is going into the repayment, but 5% and just a 5% is going into the debt repayment and also the savings, guys, which again, it is kind of crazy to see. Now, when you are doing the savings, if it is the 401k, whatever, set the money aside first. Automatically, it is really the only way to do it. When you get a salary increase, you know that money is already being set aside, and making sure, again, that you're cutting your budget or cutting your expenses wherever you can really find the place, guys. This really coupled with credit card debt can be super detrimental to any budget out there. You have to find a way to really work around, get some things cheaper, looking at insurance, looking at gas, commute, working remote, whatever it may be, guys. How can you cut this budget and how can you cut it down? So, all right, guys, so that'll do it for today's video. Let me know in the comments what you guys think. And as always, thank you guys for watching.